Mr. Anderson? Here. Mr. Sherfus? Here. Mr. Guillory?
Here.
Mr. Mark? Mr. Wyckoff? Mr. Pena? Mr. Smith? Here. Mrs. Holmes?
Here.
Mr. Strictly?
Here.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would, please stand for the invocation. Reverend Anderson.
That's right. Thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, for this meeting, for this gathering of people. Thank you for the business that you've allowed us to be able to look at. Give us insight, help us to do things that will be beneficial to your city. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think we've all received a copy of the regular meeting of the minutes of the October 2nd board meeting. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the minutes of the regular October meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Presentations. Mr. Baptiste will start with.
Is Truth and Educational Corporation, Mr. Mosley.
Welcome, Mr. Mosley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Mosley. I live at 1440 Barber Lane, Port Arthur, Texas. First, I want to thank all the members, staff, and directors for allowing me the opportunity to speak before you tonight. I'll be brief and read from a prepared statement to save time. My presentation was twofold. One, in sharing some historical insight about our corporation, Truth and Education Corporation, and our public radio station, KSAP 96.9 LPFM, The Breeze, which is owned by Truth and Education Corporation. I want to share that with some of the new board members who may not have been aware of our commitment to the city of Port Arthur and our great citizens. And secondly, I was hoping to share some information about our funding project from our successful May 2013 ballot initiative known as Proposition 12. However, I won't be doing any of that because since late last month, after talking with a board member, I was made aware of the board's decision regarding funding, and we were hoping to secure that the funding was not available anymore for our project, which in a sense makes this presentation sort of moot. But then again, I felt it was very important to share a few facts with this board. So in the future, if another organization puts forth the tremendous effort that our youth and our enlightened and engaged seniors, citizens, extended with hopes that their project would be funded, I hope that this board and others would give more consideration to that of our citizens than just the members of the board. Real quickly, some fast facts. In early September 2012, I took steps to encourage voters to support a 4B project. And in October 2012, proposed proposition language was prepared and submitted by Port Arthur City Attorney Val Tisno and myself to be circulated as a part of a petition for a proposed proposition for the May 2013 election. The language was approved and a petition form was prepared for signatures. In January 22, 2013, the Port Arthur City Council approved a petition with 1,400 signatures as required by law to ensure a place for the proposition on the May 2013 ballot. May the 1st, 2013 through May 13, 2013, there was political opposition from the council, from some individuals, from the Greater Port Arthur Chamber of Commerce, and from the Port Arthur News, that the Breeze radio station should not get funding for the proposition. In May 2013, however, the proposition passed with 67% of voter approval for entertainment projects. In closing, Truth in Education Corporation, which owns KSAP 96.9, the Breeze radio station, did not get funding for our project, and if not for the combined efforts from our youth and so many talented seniors, the proposition would not have happened. I don't know why our project was not supported in the first round of funded projects, and to not get support in the second round of funded projects is truly baffling. I've been haunted by a comment made to me by a member of this board when the political hagglings was first made public back in January 2013. The member said to me, "Stephen, if we give you this money, them folks will sue us." Maybe that's why we didn't get funded. But I felt like I must share this with the board so that it gets in the public record, because I'll have to share with the citizens from 2013 that the proposition passed with their support, that we didn't get funded because the board decided to fund other projects. Thank you very much. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Any questions for Mr. Moses? Mosley, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bettis.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, the next one, Renata attended a workshop in Houston on disaster, and I think she prepared some type of presentation for you guys. So, Renata?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
As you all know, we've all been impacted by the devastation of Hurricane Harvey. It came in slow, but it ended really, really bad, not just for the Port Arthur, Texas area, but for the whole entire Gulf Coast region. On September 11th, I attended a disaster recovery meeting at the Greater Houston Partnership in Houston, Texas. Jeff Finkel, who is the president of the International Economic Development Council, felt that it was very imperative for him to come down and hold this particular workshop because everyone in Texas along the Gulf Coast region had been impacted by Hurricane Harvey. Many of you may not know, but Harvey moved at only 2 miles per hour. Within less than, 27 hours, 47 inches of rain was dropped. The rain that came in, it flooded many homes, many businesses. A lot of people are now suffering from socioeconomic impacts of this storm. Homes are gone. A lot of things are just really going on in our community, and we have to stick together as a whole. They stated that it will take 300 months for the entire Gulf Coast region to come back, which equals to about roughly 25 years. That's a long time, if you think about it, 25 years. And that's with everything along the whole Gulf Coast region. Just in Port Arthur alone, I've heard a figure maybe 10 to 15 years. That's still a long time. However, they do have what you call a Rebuild Texas Fund. Commissioner John Sharp was actually at that particular meeting. They talked about that they actually had $45 million in that particular fund to help rebuild Texas. They also talked about EDA funding and the opportunities that we can take advantage of. They talked about marketing and how we can actually let people know, hey, we're open just because the flood came. We're not closed for business. We're actually here. We have a job that we have to do, and that we have to work together as a community to rebuild and revitalize and get our community back to the way it once was. They talked about grants for small businesses, mom and pop stores, how some will survive and some will fail. But as an economic development organization, what are we going to do to help those mom and pops and those small businesses get back on their feet? They talked about other funding sources and status of housing availability. Yes, we have a shortage right now. Everyone was impacted in some way or another. They talked about the National Recovery Framework. They said that 61 to 77% of applicants are going to be referred to SBA. I'm pretty sure you all know that. But not everyone will qualify. FEMA, people will ask for FEMA aid, but some will not get what they expect. They had a representative from SBA who also stated that 92% of people do qualify, but that's just a percentage. That's not an accurate number. That's just a percentage. And he also stated that homeowners have up to $200,000, renters have up to $40,000. It's a low interest loan, 1.75%, 30 years to repay. Within the first year, it's forgiven. They're forgiving it. So the first year you don't have to pay that loan. It doesn't start until that year, the next following year, to start paying it back. They also talked about how the local officials, it's their responsibility to call on the Texas Recovery Commission. They also had representatives from Greg Abbott's office, the governor, just saying how they're here. If we need help, they have people that can actually help us, that we can actually talk to on the phone. So they have a lot of resources out there that are out there for us to take advantage of. And it's really pretty much in our hands as citizens and you guys, people on the Economic Development Board, to whatever knowledge that you can give to the citizens of Port Arthur, whatever I can help you with, I'm here to help. I'm here to give you information. I do have a takeaway that I actually received that they actually gave out to everyone that was impacted by this particular storm. Also, they had representatives there that talked about the Tennessee flooding. They talked about how they had a lady, she said that she remembered living at the top of a hill and looking down, and the whole area below her was actually impacted by the Tennessee flooding. What took place? What happened? Gentrification took place. They came in, they cleaned it out. It became a park, a very well-known park. They talked about Katrina, New Orleans, how, the waters came in. We all know, because when Katrina happened, a lot of people came to our area. When Rita hit, people went to Houston. So it's like a trickle effect. Things come, things go, and things have to take place. It's just that we have to be there to help everybody and kind of like educate the people to let them know. Do you want gentrification to take place? A lot of people know you don't. But, no, you don't. But at the end of the day, it's a part of economic development. It has to keep turning. It has to keep going. Also, they did give a very important number that $1.25 billion was actually given to Louisiana back when Katrina hit. That's a lot of money. And as you all, those of you that may travel to Louisiana, to the New Orleans area, know that things are not the same. Things changed. And that, hurricanes, they are very impactful. They're very devastating. But at the end of the day, the wheel has to keep turning. We have to find ways to help our citizens. We have to find ways to help our small businesses. We have to find ways to still attract business and bring people to our community so that we can grow. And I'll leave you with this. Jeff Finkel said, behind every crisis is an opportunity, and that's the truth. Behind every crisis is an opportunity. But we all have to stick together as a city, as an economic development corporation, and we have to stand together as one and help our community grow and rebuild. Honestly, at this time, I would like to personally thank my counterparts that I've worked with thus far: Kathy McFarland with Site Selection Magazine, Ed Nelson with EAN Consulting, Imoli Moline, the CEO of Alvarado Economic Development Corporation. He actually was here today. Mr. Baptiste had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and the PIO, Personal Information Officer? He had a chance to talk with them today, and I actually got a chance to walk them through our building and show them People's Park, show them the pavilion, lead them to Lamar State College, Port Arthur, because they actually came down in a partnership to help the school board, to help Port Arthur Independent School District. So they were here today. Also, Tim Feemster, he's a managing principal out of Dallas, the Dallas area. I met him like a few years ago. But all these people, you guys may not know, but they actually reached out to our economic development organization and asked, what is it that we can do to help Port Arthur? We know that you guys have been impacted. What can we do to help you guys? And I just want to say, to you guys, I love my job. I appreciate what you guys allow me to do, for the simple fact that I'm able to go out there and touch hands and meet people and just hear other people that have been through what we've been through, and to find and get the knowledge that I can bring back to you guys so that we can implement it into our city. So that was a point of me coming today to you guys to actually talk with you guys, to let you know that, hey, they're listening. They know what we're going through. They're here to help. I have all the resources, all the information, anything you guys may need. I can lead you in the right direction. I have resources. I have relationships that are built that can help whoever is in need, and just hoping with hopes that we can rebuild our economy in Port Arthur.
Thank you, Renata.
You shared that with the city council and mayor and manager?
Actually, when all the emails started pouring in, I was instructed by Mr. Baptiste to send everything directly to our mayor. So everything was sent to him and copied to his secretary or vice versa. Yes, sir.
Good, because they need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
The rebuild fund, is there any monies that the EDC can apply for?
Yes, it's actually, I can get you the information. I can lead you to John Sharp. It's $45 million. So I can lead you in the direction or get you to the person that can actually help with that particular funding. The resources are out there.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for expressing an interest in going to the meeting. I think the Rebuild Fund is something, what I have found in working with this process is that it's important that a community come together.
Yes.
Because individually, we can't always achieve, but collectively, we can make Port Arthur a better Port Arthur than it was before the storm. And so thank you for going to that meeting, and I look forward to us creating groups and committees and long-term committees to make a difference in Port Arthur and make Port Arthur what we know it can be.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Baptiste?
The next presentation we have is from Radio Vida. Mr. Fernandez.
Welcome, Mr. Fernandez. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you. Mr. Gil Coster's on his way, just texted me that he was running late, but he'll be here. He can give you more specifics on the radio. Here he is talking about perfect timing. What the presentation we're making today is, we know that the function of the EDC is we don't qualify for the funding, but we're here to offer our services to the EDC, the city, as the only Spanish radio station in Port Arthur, in this area. It's a nonprofit radio station, but with the devastation of Harvey, one thing that I was supposed to be retired, but God tapped me on my shoulder and he said, Fernando, I need you. The Hispanic community needs you. Through Radio Vida, Gil Castro, and the city manager McDougall, the city councilman Mr. Scott, we were able to talk to FEMA and the SBA and the labor division about having a meeting for the community in Spanish, all in Spanish, and also in Vietnamese for our Vietnamese community. They've had great meetings before, but limited translators. And those with my experience as being the immigrant community liaison for the school district, I realized that yes, they meet the needs. It looks good on paper. Well, we had a translator. But when you look at the real outcome, what information was put out? What did the people get from that meeting? For the Vietnamese community and the Spanish-speaking community, it's very limited. So we had this meeting. FEMA, SBA, and said, well, we didn't think there was this many Hispanics in Port Arthur. It's a huge community. Yes, we're not very visible unless it's a fiesta or a wedding or a birthday, because they're not really involved in politics, because they feel that, hey, it's not going to help me. So they're busy working, making sure that they can provide for the family and give them a better life. But now the need has changed because we have a huge Hispanic population, and I can't quote the numbers because the figures in 2010 are not accurate. Unfortunately, in 2010, some people convinced the Hispanic community that, oh, let's boycott the census and make our voice heard. Unfortunately, I've argued against that position because if you're not counted, the government needs to know the numbers, and you know about numbers. So please don't base your decisions on the 2010 census. Wait for the 2020 census, and you're going to see big difference, and it's right around the corner. We've already mobilized to get everybody counted. And why is that important? Because here in Port Arthur, what you're doing, your mission statement to create business and create growth for the city is going to be impacted with low population. The Hispanic community has decided, hey, we're living here. We're going to stay here. We're not going to leave. We like it. We have jobs here. Our kids are in school. We have a place here. Today, I'm here to make you aware of that. Because one thing we found with those meetings that we had with the city and FEMA, SBA, and Department of Labor is nobody knew the huge population, the Hispanic population here in Port Arthur. Our school district, last year when I used to work with it, it was 47% Hispanic. Okay? We have the kids. Bob Hope, last year was close to 90% Hispanic. The times have changed. We have to make allowances to help everyone in the city. And fortunately, I'm bilingual, puedo hablar los dos idiomas, and Gil has given me the opportunity because my friend that was here before you, Mr. Mosley, I used to be on The Breeze. I used to have students, Vietnamese, Spanish, on the radio station when it first started to help them become better public speakers and also put information out in the community in English and Vietnamese. And it was called En la Comunidad, in the community. Well, because Radio Vida, 1150 AM and 95.5 now, FM, is a Christian station, and Gil has asked me to come back and help give the information out to the community, I've changed the name. It's still En la Comunidad, in the community, but it's En la Comunidad de Dios, in the community of God, because that's the way the station works. Why am I here? We need your help. You need our help. We want to see if we can make a venture where we can help each other. And how can you help us? Well, you're the business people. You know people here in business that come here, that have the land, that have use, that maybe somebody would like to work with us because we need a new location to bring a tower here, a 100-foot tower here in Port Arthur to improve our outreach, our signal. And I know you can't help us financially with that, but you're plugged into all the businesses here, and maybe somebody would like to make a donation of helping a station put up this 100-foot tower here in Port Arthur. And just imagine the publicity that you all would get. That, yes, we have this in your brochures, and we have a local Spanish radio station. And that's my spill, okay? But I'm going to bring Mr. Gil Castro so he can tell you a little bit more about the station.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Well, I'm glad to be here. You know, the station been on since '97. You know, I came to this area in 1979. Actually, my dad brought me to this area from South Texas. And I grew up here in Port Arthur, I can say. And we put up this station in 1997. And we've been here for the Hispanic community. We've seen our community grow, and it's growing more and more. My daughter and son, they grew up here. They went to school here. And I'm glad, and I tell everybody that I'm not going to leave Port Arthur. You know, I like it here, and I think I'm staying here. And that's why back in '97 we started the radio station to help the community, and we're still doing that till today. We were back in 1150. We're still in 1150 now. We have a FM dial, but like Fernando was saying, we were needing to put up a 100-foot tower, and we don't have land for it. And we're now like 35 feet small tower that is really real. It's not tall enough that we can reach more with the radio, but our focus is like I'm telling Fernando to help the community to make contact with the non-speaking Spanish people, with the both groups, you know, both Hispanics and all around here, Port Arthur, and that's what the station we're here for. And so that's what I can say about the station. We've been here since 1997. We've been to storms, you know, like Rita and all the other ones. Rita actually brought both our towers down, and their inviter, and brought both of our 220 feet towers down. And we managed to put it back on the air. We stayed off the air for almost a year, but we're here now. We're with FM, and like I said, that's what I can say about the radio station. And we're willing to work with the Hispanic people in other communities. And most of what we do is inform our community what's going on. And we have different audience from, you know, kids, grown-ups. We get a lot of calls whenever we put up announcements. You know, people respond to them, and I know that's why we're here with Fernando to tell you about the station. So right now we're just trying to get work with y'all and to see if y'all can work with us too.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? Port Arthur is a very diverse community,
Yes.
and we need to embrace that diversity.
Thank you. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you. And before we move on, I just want to acknowledge Councilman Lewis being in our audience, and we want to thank him for being here. He's shaking hands now, but thank you. Do we have any speakers?
Madam
or
Chairman, number 9 on your non-consent agenda deals with radio via 11:50 a.m. if you guys want to take action now.
Okay. We are moving on to the non-consent agenda items
Mr.
anyway.
Hernandez?
Sir, Mr. Ramirez, we're going to take action on an item that relates to you. We're going to move number 9 to the first non-consent agenda item, and that item is to discuss for possible consideration entering into an advertisement agreement with Radio Vida 1150, a local Spanish radio station, at a cost not to exceed $4,900 annually.
So move.
It's been moved and second to work into an agreement with Radio Vida 1150 AM. Questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you for being here, and we certainly look forward to working with you. Thank you. We'll go back to agenda item number 1 to discuss for possible consideration the terms and condition of an economic incentive agreement with AWC. Mr. Baptiste.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to yield to the lawyers. I think, do we need to table this one, Kate, till we get correct?
What we're waiting on is AWC. There's a couple things we're waiting on, but one of the main ones is for them to identify the collateral that's going to be securitizing the loan. And then also we're still trying to confirm whether or not they, AWC is a Texas entity and or is a foreign business but can do business in Texas. They have a parent company that can do business in Texas, so we're also trying to make sure AWC is the one that will be owning the equipment, owning the building, etc. Because if not, then we have to enter into basically take one more step to get the parent company to authorize AWC to pledge the equipment as collateral. So Mr. Batiste and Crystal have set forth the milestones. I have those. They've set forth how much the incentive is going to be, how much credit the individual will get for payroll, but we're still waiting on a couple things, so that's why I don't have an incentive agreement for you guys to approve this evening.
So we'll postpone agenda item number 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, agenda item number 2, to consider for possible consideration submitting an application to the Foundation for Southeast Texas for small business disaster funding. Before we move forward, I serve on their board of directors. Should I not vote?
You're not receiving a direct financial benefit, but you've disclosed for the record
Okay.
that you have a relationship, so you should be fine.
Good evening, Board. Before you, in your packets, you should have received a stapled together packet, the first page being a grant application. The Foundation for Southeast Texas is administering some grant funds that was received by Golden Pass LNG. Okay.
Let me correct that one, because I spoke to Melba, some lady today.
Ellie.
And the funds are not the LNG funds right now, but it will be coming out real soon. And she said, just hold on to our application. But it's funds they already have. But our application going to go in on the funds for the LNG project. Just want to
Right.
make sure that
The foundation,
but we still need y'all authority to go forward with this.
they've received numerous different fundings for, to be administered to different organizations here in Port Arthur and the surrounding areas. So Mr. Baptiste and I have taken steps to, hopefully with your approval, go forward and apply for some of the grant funding towards helping small businesses. Like Renata learned at her workshop that she went to in Houston and told y'all tonight, there are a lot of people suffering out there. And as an EDC, we'd like to really put some focus on small business where we can't normally help those small businesses, but we'd like to be able to offer something to them. So if you had a chance to look through that application, what we're proposing to do if we do apply to the foundation for these grant funds is offer a forgivable loan to small businesses up to anywhere up to $25,000. We will do an application process with them just as any loan. So there will be terms as far as when it would become forgivable and so on. One way that we went about trying to find the need and see what the actual need is for small business, IEDC lended us a hand. They reached out to Mr. Baptiste a few weeks ago and also asked, how can we be of service to Port Arthur right now that you guys are suffering? What can we do? They offered a volunteer to come down here. I spent last week with her. Her name was Jennifer Todd. She is a planner out of the city of Austin, and she volunteered her time through IEDC to help us with this endeavor. Jen and I spent the entire week last week out in Port Arthur. We visited with 49 small businesses, went door to door basically, talking to them. You'll see on the second page, we did a small business damage assessment survey. This is something that I put together on questions that I've seen in other communities, things that I thought would answer what we needed to know to see if we needed to go forward with this grant application or not. After getting out there, it's kind of like anything. It's a learning process. You get to talking to some of these small businesses, and you realize some of these questions probably wouldn't apply to them. I could have asked something else. So it was really good getting out there, talking to them, getting a feel for what's going on, how they're doing after the storm, what's their biggest impacts. Now, on the fourth page, we put together some survey results for you. And I'll go through those quickly with you just to give you an idea of what's going on out there in the small business community. You'll see that our largest population is in the service and retail sector for small business. We asked if you're currently open for business. Well, that was kind of an obvious question. If we're going door to door, they were open. So 48 out of the 49 were open. We did notice that there were a lot of closed doors that obviously had damage. So there are some businesses out there that are still closed, but we were unable to talk to them, unfortunately. 42 of the 49 did suffer damage. 27 said they suffered both physical and economic. There were some that didn't have to close down but suffered economic damage because they were closed for 2 weeks is what the average was. Everybody had to close down. A lot of them are still suffering economically because the product isn't there, the customer base has dwindled. So there's various reasons why they're still suffering economically. You'll see most 42 did lose business due to the disaster. Those that did not lose business were mostly your businesses in the construction supply type, where their business actually, they gained business because of the storm. So everybody's looking for materials. 80%, just like our homeowners here in the area, did not carry flood insurance. A small number did, 20% said they did have flood insurance. We asked that regardless of whether they had damage or not, so that's just kind of a roundabout number of everybody we interviewed. 25 said they did have an estimate of the cost. You'll see the majority's cost is between $5,000 and $20,000. You did have a couple that needed a tremendous amount of repairs that were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair and get their business back up running. Most of those employers employ between 1 and 5 persons. You have a couple that had 20 plus, but most are small family-owned businesses. So a lot of them are just mom, pop, and brothers and sisters out there working. Most did not lay off employees. The ones that I talked to, like most small businesses, they consider their employees family. So as much as they're having a hard time paying their employees, they don't want to let them go because they know they're also suffering at home. They have their own things to deal with at home. So they're trying really hard to keep those employees on board, trying really hard not to let them go. About 50%, I'd say, registered with FEMA. 50% did not. Those that did, it was the same story over and over. FEMA does not help small business or any business, as a matter of fact. They turn them over to the SBA. Half of them said, yes, we applied for an SBA loan. They were interested in it. And half of them said, no, we don't want another loan on top of the costs that we already have. So it's just kind of 50% there on how they feel about loans. Some are very weary about getting into loans, and some went for it. Other factors hindering business operations, again, product supply, debris removal. A lot of them still had debris covering their yards or their lots for parking. So that was a big issue with them. Financial reasons as well. And, of course, their customer base has dwindled. So that is the survey in a nutshell. Do you have any questions on it?
I don't have any question. I think it sounds wonderful, and I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the going forward with this.
Motion and second to approve moving forward with the application. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Number 3,
Thank you.
to discuss for possible consideration approving a marketing agreement, including possible renewals with KFDM, Fox 4, Sinclair Digital.
Yes, Madam Chairman and Commissioner, at your last board meeting, you guys approved Renata moving forward with I think it was a $45,000 campaign it was a 3-month period. Well, one of the things, when Renata came back to me, she talked about 3 months and 3 months. Well, anytime we spend over $5,000, I got to take it to the council, and if we're going to extend it for up to 6 months, then I needed you guys' approval. That's why I'm coming back here. Or do you want to stay with 3 months? With 3 months, I don't have to go to council. With $9,000 worth of expenditures, I have to go to council for approval, and that's why this is back to you guys. It's up to what you guys want to do. Yeah.
Comments?
I voted no for it last time it came up.
I'm sorry.
Let me say this. You know, if you approve this, we could always come back to you guys for the second approval before spending the money. But when we submit this, anything that we're going to spend over $5,000, I have to put it in a blanket order with the city, and it has to have a resolution attached to it, meaning that if you guys wish to spend it, the money is set aside. If you wish not to spend it, then the money come back to you guys, however y'all want to do it.
I'll make a motion that we move forward for 3 months with the intention that she has to renew it for another 3 months.
Okay. Yes, sir.
But how do we monitor this, whether we get any benefit from it? I mean, is there actual ways we can tell whether we're getting leads, or how does that really work with them?
Commissioner, I'm not the subject matter expert on here. Renata had to leave. I think there is some reporting that goes on with this stuff. I'm not sure. I could have Renata give you a call tomorrow and make you aware.
Well, have we ever did this before? Is this something new?
This is something new.
Okay. And they feel like that they can put this out at different forums that...
If I recall, Commissioners, from the last board meeting, I think she was going to focus on the California market. I think it's a Pacific market she's looking at right now.
And I may be incorrect, Mr. Stickley, but wasn't there to be some information provided to you on that, on how it would be monitored, or am I thinking
think
of
so.
something else?
It was supposed to be, but it never has been.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Motion, no second.
I'm sorry, did I miss the second?
A second.
It has not been a second. There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second to the motion? Motion fails for lack of a second.
Okay, Madam Chairman, we could continue to move forward with 3 months services. The only reason I'm bringing this back is because if I had gone and renewed this thing, it was $9,000, and I have to have approval from council. So we could move forward with the 3 months. We just cannot move forward with 6 months. Because you guys approved 3 months at your last board meeting.
That's correct. We
That's
did.
correct.
Mr. Wyckoff.
Well, the answer would be yes to 3 months, not anything further. Because you already approved that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agenda item number 4, to discuss for possible consideration entering into an agreement with Lamar University College of Fine Arts and Communications, SETCAST, for the video production of the EDC regular meetings from November 1st, 2017 to October 31st, 2018, in an amount not to exceed $4,053.
Yes, Commissioner, again, this is an annual fee that we pay to Lamar for the taping of the board meeting. I would like to table this so I could spend some more, have some discussion on this thing, because I think that cost is a little, I think they're charging us for 26 meetings instead of 12 meetings. I just need to make sure, and I didn't do it. So I would like to table it to your next board meeting and come back so I'll know exactly how much it costs us to film this thing on a monthly basis.
So our next meeting will be December.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Or we could just go on a month-to-month deal until, I think, if I recall, Madam Chairman, we used to meet twice a month. And I think the contract is still based on twice a month. Now we only meet once a month, and we have special meeting whenever you guys call it.
What was the cost last year?
Rachel, can you tell me? Can you go pull it up? Can we go on?
In the meantime, Mr. Wyckoff?
Mr. CEO, I'm trying to recall where we met twice a month.
Well, at one time we used to.
Let me finish. So we should be as knowledgeable. We've been having this going for quite some time, right? So why wouldn't we be knowledgeable tonight on the process? What has changed over the years?
I just want to be assured that we're paying the correct amount. It's not the amount. I didn't look it up. I didn't look at previous contracts, and it seems to me that this cost is a little high based upon my recollection, which is very gray, but I just want to check it before I bring it to you guys, And if you could just, Rachel going to pull it up right now. She could be able to
Before we
table it. Yes, ma'am.
we'll go to the next agenda item and come back to it.
Yes, ma'am. That'd be fine.
Okay. Number 5, to discuss for possible consideration letter of intent from Sanchez Cabinets.
Yes, ma'am. We received a letter of intent, and it's in your package, from William Sanchez. Is that the one you spoke to, Crystal? No. This is a gentleman, I think they're doing cabinetry work. I know I spoke to a guy about this one, and the NAISC code meet your guidelines. The concerns we have is if there's certain benchmark they have to meet to be eligible. It has to be within a certain NAISC code. That meets the guideline. The other benchmark is that 51% of their service or product must be sold outside the city of Port Arthur. We don't know if that is happening yet. And the next stage of the process, we'll gather that information, but we don't have it right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think on both of these next two agenda items is that we're just still trying to have the incentive applicants provide us with more detailed data on where their sales are located. And let me kind of go back and capture this for those who may not be familiar with this. Another example of where we were able to do this for a period of time is with Mr. Richard and Abraham Manufacturing, which was, as someone know, previously in the Sears building, now owned by Don Page and them. But that manufacturing organization, we were able to provide some funding for equipment that they needed because they were able to show that whether sales logs where those church pews were being sent. They had a brisk business around this area, but they were also able to meet the requirements outside the area. So what we wanted to let the board know is we are continuing to look at this for both of these projects because we know these are Port Arthur businesses. We certainly want to try to help grow, but we want to make certain that they provide us with the information necessary to meet the minimum criteria for you all to consider it. So again, this is probably more for informational purposes right now because at this point I don't think that either applicant on either item 5 or 6 has provided the EDC with the sales information we need to review. But these are active projects we are reviewing.
I would recommend that we could move forward and let us continue the process because, you know, in the next process, we will have all that information for you, but at least we could continue moving forward. If you guys accept the letter of intent and let us move forward, collect the data, and we come back to you guys and tell you if this is a good project or not.
I move we accept the letter of intent and let him further investigate and come back to us on both agenda items, if I can do
It's
that.
been moved and second. Question?
It's the same family?
Two different companies, two different families, two different applicants.
Yeah, I see, but it's, one is asking for 200,000, the other is asking for 270,000.
Commissioner, you know, I keep saying to the board, whatever they ask for don't mean anything to me. You know, they could ask for $1 million. You know,
Well,
until we
just
run the due diligence, it doesn't mean anything.
With this letter of intent, okay, this is so prior to, do we have a DBA, a copy of it? I mean, they filled it out. This here says a partnership, so it gives it appearance that, but there's no other documentation other than this letter of intent that says that
Sir.
this is,
Sir. And the letter of intent, what the letter of intent is, and the reason why I'm asking you guys to move forward, it meets the economic guideline based upon the NAISC code. What we do not know is 50% or more of their service or product is sold outside of the city of Port Arthur. The rest of that documentation, including financials, we will collect all that once we start moving forward. Right now, we haven't gathered any information on these guys. We just, other than we check the NAISC code. That's it.
and the letter of intent wasn't signed either.
I think all of that will be addressed when it comes back for consideration. It's been moved and second to allow the staff to move forward on agenda items 5 and 6. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we need to have a hand vote? Or were those oh, I didn't hear all the ayes. Okay. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Madam Chairman, if you don't mind, I could go back to Lamar, and last year we paid them $3,935. Not a big increase, $100 increase, so if y'all want to take action on that one, on number 4, I'm okay with it.
I was looking at the invoice. It indicates that it reflects a 3% increase
Yep.
for this year.
Okay. I didn't do my homework, guys.
Oh, didn't. Marriage of 3.
Yes.
check to make sure that it's for 12 months or instead of 26?
I did. The previous contract state, it was from November to October. It's a 12-month contract. Yeah. And the previous contract also stated that no charges for special meeting in the fiscal year.
Yes, please.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the entering into an agreement with Lamar to video the EDC regular meetings. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, to discuss for possible consideration entering into an economic infrastructure incentive agreement with Park Enterprises. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, last meeting you guys approved moving forward with an infrastructure application from Park Enterprise. I've submitted to you guys the application itself. It is infrastructure. I do have some concerns and questions on it. If you look at the very last page, the request is for $204,250. Soft costs we don't pay, so that permit and hookup fee guy, we consider that soft costs.
To my knowledge, we've never paid any soft costs, but, and I'll have to go back and look at the statute. I don't recall that you're entitled to put anything
No,
in
not
except
soft.
for hard infrastructure,
Right.
sticks and boards, basically. There's an AG opinion that came out on site improvements that I think we forwarded to the board about 6 months ago, and I don't recall any of that being included.
Any other calls? I don't see any concern with the rest of the calls, guy. Do you? They all meet the guidelines. Now, I'm talking to Guy also. The law allows us to do infrastructure for 2 or more. This particular project is, the primary will be a pharmacy and 2 additional retail site that is unknown at this time. One of the concerns that we have is the pharmacy itself does not pay sales taxes. All these other little things within the pharmacy, we receive sales tax, but I think in medicine, you don't get sales tax. Is that right?
Prescription medicine, you don't.
Right. So, and that is the primary, but all the other little things that are being sold within the pharmacies will be taxable. The other 2 business we do not know. I have had some discussion with Miss Richardson, and did explain to her if the board award this thing, it would be based upon, it would be a reimbursement after something happened. We normally put a % on the primary and a % on each additional spec site. And once that site receive a certificate of occupancy, we release that % of the money to them. At the same time, I've also explained to Ms. Richardson that 100% of it has to be collateralized until the project is completed, because it's not a complete project until it's all done, because infrastructure has to be 2 or more. And if the board wish to have some question, Ms. Richardson is here. You want to introduce yourself to her?
Hello, Ms. Richardson. Thank you for being here.
Dr. Richardson, Port Arthur, born bachelor's from the University.
You're speaking to the mic, please.
Sorry.
Thank
Can you
you.
start over?
No.
Oh, okay. Received my doctorate from Texas Southern University. Port Arthur, of course, is near and dear to me. I born and raised a few blocks down the street. I currently have a pharmacy in Beaumont, but I want to move this pharmacy to the Port Arthur area. It's a 6,000 square foot facility. It will house my pharmacy with 2 other retail establishments. I'm hoping it'll be dry cleaners, eateries. I would like to instill a sense of community, especially after the hurricane. Right now, everybody's dispersed and having to go to different places for different services, but we need to home it back in, bring it back into our community. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Okay. Questions for Dr. Richardson?
I looked on here, maybe I overlooked it. Where would this center be located?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 9th Avenue and Lake Arthur, which is actually at the corner of...
9th Avenue and Lake Arthur?
Right there by the YMCA. So it's a really good location.
Oh, it's on that property right next to the Y, that
Correct.
vacant property. They're across from the convenience store?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, directly in front of the physical therapy
Physical
building.
therapy,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
I guess it's really not for you, it's more for Mr. Baptiste. The question is, I know we have to have more than one company to do infrastructure, and the companies haven't been solidified as of yet.
Correct. Correct.
So how do we move forward with this without the companies in place?
As I said earlier, Commissioner, the project is based upon a percentage of the complete project. The pharmacist probably, let's say if it's 50% and the other 2 is 25 and 25, she received 50% of the award, if you guys award or something, when she have a CO for the pharmacy, but she have to collateralize the complete project. Every time she get money, she got to collateralize it, because if she doesn't fulfill the agreement, then is a clawback. We have a right to go and get that money from her. So you're never in the hole because she's collateralizing everything that you give her until that project is completed.
Do you currently own this property?
Yes.
You
Yes.
do?
The land is actually owned free and clear. I've already been approved for the loan, for the building of the loan. So I'm just waiting for additional funding for the infrastructure.
We just want to recall, and Kate can provide this to you all, the reason a lot of this discussion, because infrastructure projects are different than our traditional ones under 501 and 504, and it is the board that makes the findings of a benefit to the community from the development of these projects and the allowance of a certain amount of or payment of whatever of infrastructure. But as Mr. Batiste says, and this was true with the BK project, Mr. Legron's 2 different projects, is that normally they were funded in an arrears basis, but still do require collateral because we do have to have ultimately 2 or more projects completed. And as you recall with Mr. Legron's, that was actually sort of several because he got some money up front when a slab was complete, and then a second when some more was done, but they were collateralized with letters of credit until there was completion of a project that would meet the statute.
Any additional questions? Sure.
In your business plan, you probably looked at the area and your competition, CVS, Walgreens, which are nearby. Do you see any competition that will hinder you?
Oh, no, absolutely not, because that's another point. There's only 5 independent pharmacies in Port Arthur, and there are the Walgreens and the CVS's, yes. But the independent pharmacies are more thorough. They give more service more than just retail. It's more of a community. There's immunizations, there's a resource center, those things that independent pharmacies provide that most big pharmacies don't. They basically are just retail establishments. So we're looking to make it a community center, not just a pharmacy, but a place for resources and health fairs and things of that nature.
Realize that King Pharmacy is based on the same format that you're suggesting that you're going to operate your business on, and they're located right up the street from you. In fact, they just relocated from the 9th Avenue area into what used to be a restaurant. They renovated it.
Right.
Are you familiar with King's?
Yes.
They have more
Yeah,
than one location.
Absolutely. I think that, like I said, it's only 5 independent pharmacies in this area. I think one more is highly needed, especially now.
Any additional questions? Do we have a motion?
I would make a suggestion that you visit with Bernarda or the EDC. I know you're probably going to use the website to help your business as well. Might be an opportunity there.
Yes, absolutely.
Because people knowing about your business is going to be important down the road. I would think that would be a big part for, especially for small business.
Okay. All right,
That's an idea.
Right, thank you.
I have a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 7. All those in favor, please signify. Mr. Baptiste.
Guy, Kate, what I'm going to recommend is 50% for the, because I'm not sure the size. You know, does the board need to approve the percentage now or what?
You know, I think we can bring that back if we can, and just
Okay.
and basically, because we do not have an agreement for y'all tonight, so we'll bring that back based upon, again, the criteria that Mr. Baptiste plans to come up with.
Okay, I'm good.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, to discuss for possible consideration entering into an agreement with FLOR Group Development Proposal. Mr. Baptiste.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to ask you guys to table this until next board meeting when Renata will be here to explain this one.
Okay, thank you. There being no other consent agenda items, we'll move on to reports, marketing and business recruitment report. Any additional?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Operational report. Crystal.
Yes, ma'am. My report today is going to be very short. This month we have really focused on what I told you all earlier, small business and seeing how business is doing out there after the hurricane. As far as our incentive recipients, current and open projects go, Real Cajun Restaurant is open now. They have completed that part of their infrastructure agreement and hope to complete the second part, which is the distribution warehouse portion here in the near future. We did have one company, Port Arthur Recycling, who is off of 365 and close to Jade Avenue. They did receive quite a bit of damage after the storm, so their business is slowed down right now, so we're working with them to see what we can do to help them out. But as far as our other businesses, our client businesses, they're doing well. They fared well after the storm, so everybody's doing good.
Questions for Crystal? Thank you. Financial report, Rachel.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
This report also will be very short. We had very minimum things that happened in our finances that changed this month. We're still in the process of waiting for the City of Port Arthur to finish reconciling the end of fiscal year 2017, so we really don't have any concrete numbers for you tonight. Our current revenue, projected revenue for fiscal year 2018 is $3,738,593. Our current expenditures for this month is $122,702. for an excess of revenue of $3,615,891. We have a predicted transfer out of $1,234,866, which is our debt service for this fiscal year, which will leave us a net change in fund balance of $2,381,025. Our fund balance at the beginning of the year is $7,644,067. Predicting fund balance at the end of the year, $10,028,092. Last year, we ended with our current year remaining balance for this budget year is $7,193,000, and our projected end of the year budget is $2,834,115. We have a projected additional sales tax revenue of $3,236,864, and we're projecting a fund balance at the end of the year for fiscal year 2018 of $6,070,979.
Questions?
I guess the CEO, based on what happened to hurricane, we're going to have a backlash on next year. Do you have an idea what that's going to be from a shortfall?
We have seen the sales tax return for the month of October, and it's about 1.5 down. But I think because of the amount of construction that's going on and the high ticket items of material and cars and stuff, I'm very optimistic to see what it's going to look like in the near future for the next 4 or 5 months.
So based on the majority of the products being purchased here, you're talking about Parker Lumber, Lowe's,
quite a bit of it. I would think.
So
I would think. I am just, we have Conn's and we have Parker Lumber, we have Lowe's. They're here, and I'm not saying all of them are going to be purchased in Port Arthur, but I am definitely looking at a jump in sales tax in the next 6 to 7 months because of the storms. And you've got your high ticket items. They're going to be buying washing machines and beds and everything else, and that's not going to the restaurant with David and eating the meal and getting $2 in sales tax. You're getting $100 in sales tax.
Yeah, I just want to know, do you project an upside or downside? Because most likely it should be an up. Okay. I'm just making sure you stay on top of it.
I'll try.
All right.
Any other questions?
One thing I want to explain to the board, and I don't have the numbers fixed in my head, but you heard Rachel talk about $10 million, and then she talked about $7 million. Well, that $10 million is what you have right now. At the end of the year, when we spend some money, she projected $7 million left. Okay? So she projected about $3 million that we're going to spend. We may not spend all that.
Right.
But right now you have $10 million. If we spend every dollar that you guys budget for this year, you will have $7 million in the bank at the end of the year.
Question: How much of that is allocated for future projects?
For this year?
Yeah.
3.2 million?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Rachel? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Baptiste?
Okay. I jotted down a few things. First, I want to thank IEDC for loaning us Jen. She did a fine job. She really enjoyed coming to the community and learning our community and learning our small business. First day she had some heels. The rest of the day she had tennis shoes. So she did a lot of walking. Excellent. She did a great job. We talk about the Southeast Texas Nonprofit Development Center and the forgivable loan. We actually put 2 projects together, and we was going to give a choice to the board, but Crystal said, no, we're going with the small business. The other one was, and it's written up, but I did call and said we could only submit one. The other one was, we were looking at the down payment assistance for folks over the 120 to the 180, because those are the folks that's not being able to get help. There's a lot of people out there that had money that, but anyway, we decided to go with the small business. The other thing I have here is the second floor construction going to start on the second floor real soon. Hopefully next couple of weeks, second floor. We'll also start construction and landscaping. They're going out for bid right now for the Jade Avenue Business Park. So hopefully by the first of the year, 1st of January, February, that project should be done. We are going out for bid for the water line and also the manhole in the downtown redevelopment area of 5th and 8th Street. And you heard the name several times tonight. In fact, I spoke to him Friday. Jeff, I think Ms. Holmes, at some seminar, I introduced you to Jeff Finkel. Jeff, guys, is the president of IEDC. We have gotten to be real close friends. And I have asked Jeff if he would be willing to come to Port Arthur again to do a community vision workshop with this board and the council. You guys heard Renata talk about opportunities, but in order to take advantage of opportunities, you got to have a vision. And I've asked Jeff if he could come down here and do a workshop for this board and council people. He is willing to come here on January the 31st and do a 1-day or 2-day workshop, if you guys wish to have it.
Mr. Baptiste, that sounds good. Let me ask you a question. Should we involve more than just the city and the EDC? Have you thought about the port, the drainage district, as well as the school board? Because going forward, we'll have to look at a bigger picture than the small picture. And to move the city of Port Arthur forward, I think you need to have all those entities in that meeting so we all have the same vision, common goal.
I certainly understand what you're saying. And it's crystal here. I think in 2007 we did exactly what you said. We invited all the players in a partnership. And I think there's a lot of prep work that have to be done prior to bringing, because you cannot come into these sessions with an agenda. The agenda is being built within the session. And when you bring a lot of all these entities together, they all bring their own personal agenda. The port, they have their agenda. And
I understand that, but I'm just saying, if you're going to put something together, if you're going to use this time valuably, I think you need to have one common goal.
And we could do that. We could do that.
There's no sense doing it if you're just going to do it just for a couple of people, the city and the EDC.
We could do that.
Because
we could
because that's the problem.
We could include.
I don't want to get on that soap opera, but that's the problem we have now.
Let me give you another deal, and you're so right. Especially when you strategically trying to make things happen, you have to include all the spokes of the wheel so everything is turning right.
Yeah. So that's our weakness right now.
Yeah. But can you accomplish this in a 1-day workshop?
I don't know, but I think you probably need to look at it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I did invite Mr. Finkel to come. He did accept if you guys are willing. I would ask if you guys want me to continue this.
Has council agreed with
I have
that?
not, I can't, I'm coming to you guys first.
Okay.
They're gonna be invited.
Well, I think I have to agree with Mr. Wyckoff that collectively, we have to come up with a vision, and collectively, we have to move forward in that vision. I think I said it earlier, independently, we won't achieve anything. So if we don't collectively come up with something, I don't want to see us invest our time and energy and we're not working toward a goal.
And as I said, you guys, at one time, the directors of all the taxing entities, including myself and the mayor and Dr. Porter and Mr. Gasper and Phil, we would meet, and now, but we're talking about board members because we found out we don't vote, y'all vote.
It's true.
And just to add to that, we just did a major investment with the port on a bond. We just did a major with the school district on taxes. So it's too critical not to have all those players together because we got to see where our money going. And they have to have a common goal to be successful. If you don't do that, it's like you say, you're wasting time.
Yeah.
I don't want to harp on that, but it's so critical right now.
If you guys wish, we could include all.
Yeah, I think you need
I just think we need to have collective strategic planning.
Yeah.
Even the navigation district, all these people.
Okay.
That's how you can get
Yeah,
the
we
word
need
out.
to.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go to.
It may not be a one-day thing. It
Yeah,
may be a build-on
Yeah.
kind of thing, but it has to start somewhere.
Right.
But it has to start with everybody.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna work on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Do we have items for the executive session?
Guy?
Just something for.
Guy told me to take them off.
Would y'all go back? It won't disturb your digestion or?
Okay. All right, with that, a closed meeting or executive session will be held pursuant to the following sections of Chapter 551, Section 551.071, .072, .074, .087. At this point, we'll move to the executive session and reconvene after the meeting.
Let's go.
3, 4, 5. I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Port Arthur EDC. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Darrell Anderson. John Sherfus. Joseph Guillory. Kenneth Marks. Richard Wyckoff. Warren Pena. Dallas Smith.
Yeah.
Ingrid Holmes.
Here.
David Stickley. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. There being no business to discuss or vote on, any comments from any of the board members before we adjourn the meeting? Okay, it's been moved and second that we adjourn the meeting. You all have a great Thanksgiving. Oh, it is Thanksgiving. You missed the whole